Can you give me a bottom line, sir?
They will choose to attack Iran. Netanyahu will, as a stooge of the Rothschilds, will issue an order that will launch a fleet of airplanes. Half of those airplanes will never make their targets. They'll be destroyed or lose fuel and die. The other half will not make their primary targets, but a mistake will be made that I had termed the Israeli mistake, because this one small group of aircraft will get through to a secondary target. They will use a bunker buster that has got a nuclear tip on it. They will incinerate a huge giant pool of oil underneath the ground and set off a radioactive volcano that will kill over 30 million people on the continent of Asia and come drifting over to our continent to start killing us, just like Fukushima did, only worse. When that starts, there will be a huge outcry around the planet that will forever condemn the Israelis. The Russians, to their credit, will hold their reaction and hold their response for 3 days and tell everybody in the Israeli sector to get out. And 3 days later, they will glaze it. It will be glazed over forever. And that starts the problem. And our real horror is global thermonuclear war, and I won't be here to talk to you because they will take out the West Coast.
Let's go to James in Los Angeles. Independent caller, you're on the air.
Thank you. What about what General Petraeus had said about U.S. support for Israel against the Palestinians being a threat to American troops in theater?
At the end of this video is an example which is arguably the most dramatic killing of Americans during the Iraq War. See what the media didn't report.
And yesterday we see Netanyahu getting more standing ovations than President Obama did at the State of the Union. It's outrageous. You can go to america-hijack.com. Our support for Israel is what got us attacked on 9/11. You can read page 147 of the...
All right, James, got your point.
I don't buy any of that. We got attacked because bin Laden and Al-Qaeda came after us. They had a lot of different reasons for doing so, none of them valid. And our support for Israel is essential and necessary. As to troops, that's not, as far as I know, ever been a question. I just think you're wrong.
The two top commissioners admitted that their top concern was whether or not the American people would reassess the policy of supporting Israel. So instead of giving a full accounting, which was their mandate, their top concern is how to protect a foreign policy. It at least got mentioned on page 147, but we know that there were efforts to suppress what the main motive was. So the testimony of Philip Zelikow was excluded from the 9/11 report, but you can see him during the 9/11 hearings.
Although bin Laden recognized that Atta and the other pilots had only just arrived in the United States to begin their flight training, the Al-Qaeda leader wanted to punish the United States for supporting Israel. The Al-Qaeda leader wanted to punish the United States for supporting Israel. The Al-Qaeda leader wanted to punish the United States for supporting Israel.
And when the question was asked specifically what made them do it, they didn't include this testimony in the 9/11 report.
I'm interested in the question of motivation of these hijackers. My question is really directed to the agents. What have you found out about why these men did what they did? What motivated them to do
it? I believe they feel a sense of outrage against the United States. They identify with the Palestinian problem. They identify with people who oppose repressive regimes. And I believe they tend to focus their anger on the United States.
This is one of the ugliest violations of the American people's rights. To try to con us about why our lives are being put at risk? We lose 3,000 people and we have politicians playing games? The priority is putting foreign policy above telling the American people the truth and giving them the right to decide if they want to put their lives at risk for supporting Israeli crimes?
4 of them, you may recall, were dragged through the streets of Fallujah. Their bodies hanged after they were ambushed in 2004.
The families of the dead men say the company they worked for, Blackwater USA, has tried to cover up what led to the tragedy.
And then another event happened before the Fallujah ambush of the Blackwater contractors. On March 22nd, the Israeli military killed Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, who was a cleric bound in a wheelchair as he was coming out of morning prayers, killed him and about a half a dozen other people in his entourage. And in Fallujah, there was a massive protest against that. And already people believed that the Israelis and the U.S. were working hand in hand during the occupation of Iraq. So that was the context leading up to the Fallujah ambush, and it's almost never talked about. So The people of Fallujah, I think rightly, were very outraged at their treatment at the hands of the U.S. and its allies, and saw the sort of relationship between the U.S. as Israel as one of conquest in the Middle East and certainly in Iraq. In fact, many people in Iraq believed that private military contractors like Blackwater were either CIA or Mossad. So it's very likely that when those guys rolled into Fallujah that morning, that people thought they were attacking a CIA convoy or a Mossad convoy.